Today, we are talking about something that could be very close to home for many of you. And I'm going to be brutally honest because it can affect most of us as we're aging. It is this thing called the ability illusion, which is the difference between how we completely misjudge what we can do and what we can't do. And this matters as we're getting older because it can be the difference between maintaining our independence or losing it and being able to live life fully or shrinking back into fear. And here's what's fascinating about the whole thing is that research shows us that we don't just overestimate our ability, we can massively underestimate our ability. Now, I've seen this play out countless amounts of time with clients, with my own mum, and honestly, I've caught myself doing it as well. I've underestimated, I've overestimated. So what we're going to do is dig into the science about why our brain plays these tricks on us, and more importantly, what we can do about it. So let's start off with the reality check that we all need. So let me paint this picture for you, and it might sound familiar or it might be something you're going through right now. So my mum has been in hospital recently. She said she was ready to go home. The hospital said she was ready to go home. She said she was ready to go home. And I'm sitting there in this hospital room going, hang up a minute. I can actually see her physical state here. So I requested a physio assessment. Now, that physio confirmed my concerns. But my mum, she was adamant she was going home. She said, I have a walker. I will use it. I promise you, I will use it. And it doesn't matter that I can't get in and out of my bed. I am going to sleep in my lift chair and I'll be fine. Are you sure? Yes, I don't think so. Anyway, we went back and forth, but mum was going home regardless. Here's the thing, she wasn't fine at all. And the reality hit once she got home. She couldn't shower herself. She couldn't make meals. She couldn't get around really well. And very, very quickly, she said, can you shower me? Which I did. I got her a meal. And I said, I'll come back later and, get another meal and sort some other things out, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so while she was sitting there, whilst I was off at the shops and came back, she came up and had that reality check and said, okay, no, I can't do it. I thought I could, but I can't. And so off we went back to the hospital and then off to rehab. And it was really fascinating that 4 days of non-activity for her completely threw her into a loop and had her having to do many weeks of rehab. And she's still not back to where she was before she went in there. And look, before you start thinking that this is just about older people being stubborn, it's not. I want to share some research with you because scientists had people estimate how high they could step over a bar. And then they had them actually do it. And here's what they found. 11% of people who were between the ages of 60 and 74 overestimated their ability. But a whopping 32.5% of those 75 years and older got it completely wrong. And here's the real kicker. The younger adults in the group in this study, they all underestimated what they can do. So this isn't about age making us delusional by any stretch of the imagination. It's about our relationship with our abilities that change as we age. And I'm going to give you some really practical examples of this as we move through. And so get this. This one just blew my mind. It was those people who had fallen were almost twice as likely to overestimate their step over ability. So our brains seem to have this weird amnesia about our limitations after we've already experienced them. That is just mind-boggling, right? And I know that for many women who have come into our program in the past, when they've had a fall, they've told me that it's taken them 6 months, up to 18 months to feel confident in walking on uneven surfaces again. And yet when we're asked about something, we still overestimate. So why do our brains betray us? And there's some pretty compelling psychological and physical factors at play here. What happens is we have this outdated image of ourself, this self-image that we're seeing. It's like having this mental selfie that we've taken a snapshot from a little while ago, and that's what we're actually seeing. So it hasn't quite kept up with reality. So we hold on to the memories of what we could do previously without updating it as our abilities have changed. And I see this all the time. Women who remember being the sporty person at school, but they haven't really done any physical activity in decades. And I hear it quite often. I used to go to the gym all the time, and now I don't go. And then when they start, they think that they're able to do what they did when they were going to the gym all the time. So it's that misconception of how we see our abilities. Now, the second thing here is that we don't regularly test ourselves on our physical limits. And when we don't do that, we don't really notice any gradual changes that could be happening. And the research shows that 36% of people who rarely go outdoors overestimate their abilities compared to 11% who do go outside each day, which is just crazy stuff, right? So when we live a sedentary life, when we're sitting more than we're moving, our body is changing, but our brain doesn't get the memo. There's a powerful psychological drive that we have to maintain our independence. And if I'm being brutally honest here, which I am, scares the living daylights out of me if I had to get someone to help me. If I couldn't get outside every day, I would just be devastated. And I was out walking on my way to the hospital, and I went past one of the local nursing homes, and there was just one woman sitting out there. Just one woman, that's it. And there were a lot more people in that nursing home, but just one person outside having a little bit of fresh air. That would absolutely just destroy me not being able to be outside. So I don't think any of us really want to admit that we're declining or that we're losing our capabilities. But denial doesn't change the reality, and it just makes it, when it happens, just absolutely brutal. So finally, what also happens is as we age, our cognitive abilities that help us accurately judge risks and capabilities, they can decline. And so it's not about intelligence, it's about the execution function that helps us realistically assess different situations. So here's where it gets really, really interesting. Sometimes we swing completely on the other side of this and we underestimate what we can do. And some of this research was really interesting because it actually says that it might be more damaging in the long run. Because when we underestimate our abilities, we start to unnecessarily limit our activities. So we reduce the physical activity, which accelerates our decline, and we end up in this vicious cycle where we become weaker and probably more in line with what we feared we were in the first place. So our confidence is going to plummet and we start reinforcing for ourselves all those negative aging stereotypes. And I'm just going to say this, some of you might be living smaller lives than you need to because you've accepted limitations that aren't actually there. You've talked yourself out of activities because you could absolutely still enjoy. And that's a bit sad. So the ideal isn't to underestimate. What we want to do is aim for an accurate assessment of what our true capabilities are. And that's going to take work. So let's get real. Let's do an honesty assessment. And here's how we're going to fix it. So we want to do some regular self-testing. We don't want to wait for a crisis where we've gone to hospital and then we come home and we find out that we can't do something, or that we have a fall and we find out that we're not as strong as we thought we were, or that we're not going to be able to get around as well because we thought we were stronger in our bodies. And so we want to do regular check-ins with these everyday activities, like getting up and down from a chair without using our hands. Can we climb a flight of stairs without getting puffed? Can we go up and down those stairs without holding the railings? Can we walk to our mailbox and back without feeling totally exhausted? Can we do up our bra at the back? Can we stand on one leg to shower and actually shave our own legs? Have we got the strength in our hands to wash our hair and hold them up there for a while? So there are so many everyday activities that are going to be going, pay attention to me. I'm telling you that there's something going on here and you can do something about it. But what happens is we tend to ignore it, me included here. So we can do these assessments for ourselves, but we can also go and get some professional assessments as well, because what we might do there is when we're doing our own assessments, we could definitely, again, tell ourselves a few little stories about it as well. So we could talk to the GP about getting a referral to have some type of mobility assessment, or we could go to a physiotherapist, even though we're not injured, and just simply say, you know, can you check these things for me? You could join an exercise program that has qualified instructors that are going to, you know, observe your capabilities and give you some honest feedback. And to be honest, I see this all the time. This is how we start our foundations program. It's like, okay, How long can we stand on one leg? And what am I noticing? Can I get up and down off the ground? How can I get up and down off the ground? How can I get in and out of seats? These types of things are super important if we want to maintain our independence. But it's not just about the independence, in the future. It's like, well, that's going to limit me now if I can't do those things now. And I want to be able to do different things. I see this with Paul. He can no longer do up his own ski boots. I've got to get down on the ground and do them up for him. Well, I don't have to do it, but I choose to, because he still likes to ski. But some simple type of regular movements for him could completely flip the switch on that. But he's got to want to do it, right? I think the third part of this is to make sure that we have these incremental challenges built in. So if you've assessed yourself and you know what you can and can't do, or where you've got those limitations, then find some self challenges or some safe challenges that are going to continually increase in difficulty so that you can continue to improve. So if you're going to start bushwalking, start with shorter walks, and then from there start to build up different type of terrain so that you're walking on different types of surfaces. You might want to practice getting down into lower chairs or control movements or standing on one leg, because maybe you're going to be crossing a creek as an example. You've got to have some stability to walk over rocks. So there's all sorts of things to think about there. And fourthly, you want to stay active each day. And this is one of the strongest things that research finds for us. And it is, if we maintain this daily physical activity, that we have more accurate perceptions of our ability. So we don't necessarily overestimate, we don't necessarily underestimate. It's more accurate to where we are right now. So simply getting outdoors regularly can keep your self-assessments in check. That's good, isn't it? Finally, the next thing is you want to get others involved in your planning. So when you're making decisions about activities, living arrangements, ask trusted friends, family members, ask them for honest assessments, but listen without getting defensive, because they care about you and they're trying to help you. They're not trying to limit you. They're just trying to say, here's a little bit of reality. Here's what I'm noticing. And what you can do with that person then is think about what activities can you do together. For mum in rehab, it was like, okay, I would sit with her for a bit and then we'd get up and she'd walk with her willy walker up and around the hallway, and I'd walk with her and come back. So it was just getting her used to the fact that she needs to move more often to keep that movement in her body. Now, one of the things that I like to do in these sessions is to finish up with a move moment. And this is a simple assessment that you can do right now. So you want to find a nice steady chair, not a swivel chair like I'm sitting on right now, and just simply sit on that chair and cross your arms. I want to make sure, though, that your feet are underneath your shoulders, okay, so that you've got that good alignment. And when you go to stand up, so I do want you to stand up, I want you to push through your heels. And I want you to see if you can stand up without using your hands or rocking forward like out of control. When you stand up, I then want you to sit down and control that sit down slowly. I want you to do this 5 times in a row. This will tell you about your leg strength. This will tell you about your balance. And these are 2 critical factors for being able to do what you love and enjoy and live independently. So remember, if you struggle to do that, this is just information. It's not about making you feel bad. It's about just giving you, here's my honest baseline. Okay, I now know what it is. What do I need to do in order to improve that? So what we've talked about today is underestimating the things that we can or cannot do, and the same with overestimating. And it's about having this reality check about, is our life getting smaller? Are we doing less? Or do we believe in our head that we can do more? And the goal here is not to dwell on the decline or our limitations. It's to have this accurate assessment that allows you to make good decisions. So we want to stay active. We want to do these regular tests on ourselves in safe ways, of course. And we want to be open to getting feedback from others so that we can keep that self-image that we have in our head aligned with what reality is. And this honest approach doesn't mean giving up or giving into aging stereotypes. It means adapting appropriately so that you can continue doing all the things that you love and enjoy rather than having to give them up. You want to do some type of weekly challenge with yourself. Just pick one activity. It could be something that I actually thought of. Now, I had my granddaughter who lives with me, grandson. She was sitting on the ground. She got up from that position, but she did it as a walkout and back down. And Mum went, oh, wow, have a look at her. And I said, I practice those things every day, Mum. And she said, really? And I said, yeah. I said, I want to be able to get up and down off the ground. So it means that if I want to sit on the ground with these kids and interact with them, I've got to be able to do it. And the only way I'm going to be able to do it is to practice it. And if I practice it, then I get better at it. But if I stop doing it, then I'm not going to be able to do it. And I've got to be the person who sits in the chair and they sit on the floor. But I want to be the person who sits on the floor. So when we're picking this weekly challenge, make it appropriate to where you are. One of the things that you've tested, one of the things that you've noticed is declining, then make that challenge about improving that one thing. And if you need to, get support with it, but keep testing it and you might surprise yourself, right? So pick one activity you've been doing that might be beyond your capabilities. Get that honest assessment from someone whose opinion you do trust. And remember, optimism is always a good friend here. Acknowledging your actual limitations whilst maintaining your confidence in your abilities that you still have. This is what's important. So I do hope that this has given you some food for thought, that it has you thinking about whether you overestimate or underestimate your ability, or whether you're pretty spot on with what you can and can't do. And those things that you're noticing that you can't do, let's get more in tune with it so that what we can do is improve it and continue to enjoy those things in life that we want to enjoy. So take care, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.